Hello my friends, so this is the retro guy. Today I'm going to be using my bench here, my new bench, to try to document the process of fixing this guy here. So this is, let me show you, this is a Macintosh SE that I just got from eBay. This guy here looks in great shape, at least externally. It looks just fine, like the case is without cracks or anything. And better than that, it has the programmer's button here, as you can see in the side, which is quite unusual actually, this guy here. I was looking for one of those since a long time. It's very hard to come across one. And well, what I thought is, worst case scenario, I can at least reuse the case, because the other one that I have has a crack on it. In the front bezel here, and I can at least reuse it. So I tried to power on this guy. Nasty sounds came on, and I really didn't wait to see what was going to happen, so I just powered off, and now I'm going to disassemble it and take a look inside. It's very hard to say whether or not someone was here before in terms of, you know, getting inside of this machine. Looking at the screws, at least in the back, it looks okay, it looks original, it looks stock, but again, very hard to say whether or not someone has been here. So I don't really care. I paid for this guy here like 15 quid at eBay. Basically like only the button that I mentioned here, if you actually come across one of those, it's going to cost you like at least like 25-30 quid. So that was already a good deal right there. And the case itself, which is in much better condition than the one that I have, this one that is sitting on the back there, you know, it's a project that I worked on. It's fully operational, but the case is cracked on the front bezel here, and it has some marks on top here as well, like someone scratched, I think a zip code or something like this here. So I can replace that with this one. So I got a case and a programmer's button here for 15 quid, if nothing else here is actually usable. So I think it's a fairly good deal. Okay, so I'm going to open this up and we're going to take a quick look inside. So let me just, I'm going to use this cushion that I have here to protect the base screen. So the previous owner told me that he thinks the problem is related to the CRT tube. So we're going to take a look and see whether or not the CRT tube is compromised. So to open those guys up is really easy. You just need to remove 4 screws. So those are torque screws. So I'm using a T9 tip here. Very easy. And again, like the 4 screws that I'm undoing here, they are original, like I can tell by the color. And apparently, just looking at the, you know, the fittings here, it doesn't look like it has been undone in the past, at least not a lot of times. So I don't think someone has been here before. So this model is the 20 SC model, which means you should have a 20 megabyte SCSI hard drive inside. If there isn't, then for sure someone was here before and removed it. So if the hard drive is there and it's operational, that's already like another, at least like maybe 40 to 50 quid. So I'll be really happy if there is a hard drive and if the hard drive is functioning. Okay, so screws are all off. So what I do whenever opening those guys is, because I powered it on like just a few minutes ago, I leave the on-off switch into on position. This basically makes sure that all stored energy, eventually capacitors and stuff like that, it's basically a little more guarantee that they will be discharged. It's not a guarantee at all, but it's a little better than keep it turned off at least. You still need to proceed with caution. We are talking about CRTs, and everybody here knows that CRTs are basically very large capacitors carrying a very dangerous voltage inside, unless otherwise already discharged. So you have to proceed with caution here, okay? This is a fairly old machine. It's from 1985, 1986 maybe. So chances are you don't have like an intelligent board that automatically discharges the system or anything like that. So again, whenever dealing with those guys, you have to proceed with caution and make sure you understand the need for discharging and such. Okay, so to disassemble it, once the screws are removed, you just have to lift up the case like this. So it should be very easy, like it is. So I have opened quite a few of those in the past. Okay, so there goes the, so yeah, it has been opened a few times. I can tell based on the, you know, there are some markings here that you can easily tell that this has been like put on and off like a few times. So yeah, it's incredibly dirty. It's really, really nasty inside. But again, like this is 40-year-old almost machine, so I wouldn't expect it to be totally clean or anything like that. Okay, so looking on the components here, so good news, there is a hard drive. Whether or not it is working, well, that's another story. But so yeah, I can see it just there. So I'm actually going to bring the camera over. So what I think had happened here is I can see that the tube is actually cracked. That's why I heard that strange noises when I powered it on. Basically the electron gun was firing it up, and the thing is like the vacuum tube is damaged. So I think it was basically all over the place. Fairly dangerous, I would imagine. But well, the good news is there is no, for sure, there is no electricity stored here because there is nothing there. So I'm going to show you a closer look on the tube here before I move forward so you guys can see it, okay? Okay, so this is a good shot, I think, from the damage. As you can see, it's up here. It's cracked right in the neck. So this is basically the cause of, the root cause of the problem. So the tube is damaged, right? Everything else could be working, I don't know, have to check. So I'm going to replace the tube. So luckily I do have a spare tube here, and this one is working. I have tested it already, so it's ready to go, and I'm going to use it. So I'm going to put the camera back to have that aerial view, and then I'm going to proceed with the disassemble of this. And it's very straightforward actually to replace the tube. I'm just a little bit concerned about the board here, because if the neck is totally broken, you see, so it's going to be, I think, a little bit tough to remove the connector from the board that you see there, I think. So I have to disassemble and see it, and I'm going to try to document everything during the process. Okay, so back to the disassembly. So first thing I'm going to do here is remove this from the damaged tube. So again, because the tube is totally broken, right, there is really nothing here in terms of energy, so it's all gone. And I have, just in case, you know, before turning the video on, I had actually discharged it just to be safe, because you really don't want to be playing around this sort of thing without having full certainty that it is actually discharged and such. So I'm going to move this a little bit here. so I have some space to work here. And I'm going to get my pad here so I can actually put the stuff that I'm going to be working on in there. Okay, so that's better. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start the disassembly process here. Again, as I said, it's a very straightforward process. There are a number of screws that you need to remove to basically get the logic board out and the analog board out. And I have to basically remove everything either way because I will be cleaning everything up and you know, eventually checking capacitors and this sort of stuff. So I'm going to start with the problematic part here. So I really want to remove the board from the neck and see what the damage actually is. I need to reuse this board here to, you know, get this guy working again. I don't have a spare board to connect to the new neck. So if this is damaged, then that's it for me. Like I don't have a spare part to actually try to fix it. If the board is still okay, at least visually, then I can try to swap it, the tube, and see whether or not it works. So that's the plan for now. Okay, so I'm not going to remove everything at the moment because it's not really needed. What I really need here to remove is I need to remove this cable that connects to the tube, and that's pretty much it. Like the tube has only one cable, which is this guy here, and then it has the board connecting to the neck here. So what I'm going to do is, before removing or trying to remove the neck board, I'm going to just detach this cable that is connected to the neck board, and then there is the connector to the neck board itself that is just sitting behind here. It should not be too hard to remove, but I might want to release the neck board first. So yeah, as you can see, like just by you know, like shifting it a little bit, like jiggling it, it's already like coming apart. So yeah. So yeah, it's going to be a little problematic here. Hopefully I can just lift this up and release the pins from the board, and then I'm good to go. And by the way, I can reuse this tube here for projects like the one that I've done before. For example, like I can use an angle grinder and actually cut the tube here and polish it from the inside and use it for, you know, like some other projects. So I'm going to basically keep this tube for further usage, probably. I'm not sure, but yeah, probably I'm going to do that because it's not easy to come across those small tubes. Okay, so I'm actually going to try to remove the board connector here. So now the board should be totally loose in terms of connections. Come on. Yeah, it's not looking good. Basically the whole thing is coming apart. Not sure if you guys can see it, but that's basically how it looks like. Right, so yeah, it's fully broken. That's basically why, again, when I powered it up, I heard those very weird noises. It to me at first it looked like a capacitor that was exploding or something like that, but then I realized there was no smoke and I couldn't smell anything. So I realized it couldn't be there, because if you guys notice, when a capacitor actually explodes, the smell and the smoke is really almost unbearable. Like the smell is really bad. But nothing like that here. So it was basically the rays just going all over the place here because the neck was basically broken. So yeah, it was a lot of electricity basically flowing around. I could only imagine how dangerous this could have been if I had tested this with the back the back part off like it is now. So yeah, luckily I didn't do that. Well, I would have seen it anyways that it was broken, but yeah, it was fortunate that I didn't do it. So I'm going to get some pliers here. So I'm going to cut this little wire that is sitting there. Maybe I can just lift it up and see if it comes off. Yeah, like that. So yeah, I think it's going to be fairly easy to remove this from the connector. So it's all in one piece apparently, so I should be able to just pull this, and by doing that I can reuse the board. So let me try that. Perfect. So it's off and the board seems to be in good shape. Well, it's very dirty, but other than that, like I don't see any damage to it. All the caps and resistors and the electronics are all here. Nothing cracked or damaged, at least you know, from visual inspection, which is really good. Okay, so that is good news, very good news. So I'm going to put this aside here with the other tube that I have. Now what I need to do is remove this tube here and set it aside, and for that I need to remove all the boards in the system. So I have to remove pretty much everything that you see here. So I'm going to do that. So the hard drive cable was already off. I think someone basically, probably what happened here was someone accessed this Mac in the past, maybe to, you know, like fix something that could have been broken in the past, I don't know. And when trying to connect the cables back, it probably did that in the wrong way, and when it pulled it back, for example a cable or something, it smashed the neck of the tube. That's probably what happened. It happened to me once a while ago, and it's very easy actually to happen. So maybe when disconnecting the cable from the hard drive or something like that, it came back too fast, and the hand basically touched the neck of the tube and it broke it. That's my theory, at least, which is not really a good thing, because if someone was trying to do something here in the past, that basically means that apparently something wasn't working as expected. So that's not the type of thing really you want. But well, let's see. The only way actually for us to get to know this is by disassembling everything. So yeah, the floppy drive connector is also like already disconnected, which is also an indication of what I was just saying here. So, but still, like, I have hope for this, and let's see what happens when I basically so yeah, I have to be really careful here because of this is really sharp glass, and it's very easy to get cut here. So I need to disconnect the main plug from the board, but the problem is there is not much clearance to do so, and yeah, this is kind of like a tricky one. From this Macs, those old Macs, I would say that's the worst part, getting those disconnected. They are really tight, and okay, that is it. So the board, the logic board, should now be loose. Like I just have to remove now the screws on the side here. So there are basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws, Phillips screws, that I need to remove to basically make sure that the board is totally loose. Actually, sorry, this is not. I'm looking at the analog board. So this is the logic board right here, and well, the bottom of the board seems to be very clean, which is a good thing. So there is apparently no water damage or anything like that in the past. So to remove the board, you just have to pull it like that, and it should come right off. So that's the board. well, again, visual inspection here doesn't show any problems or anything. Like it looks okay, but again, like that doesn't really tell us much. So I'll have to basically clean this board here. It's of course filthy, but visually, the caps, for example, like they don't look bulged or anything like that. So it's looking okay. The audio connector, when I actually removed the board, I forgot to disconnect it, so it bended a little bit, but it's back in place already, so it should be okay. Good. So yeah, it's a matter of cleaning this up. I'm going to do this in a moment. So there goes the logic board. So this is the audio connector that I should have unplugged before pulling the board. I forgot about that. So now is time for removing the analog board. So I have to remove a bunch of screws here basically to achieve that. So the first one is this ground wire here. So I have to remove the screw to disconnect the wire so that the board can slide right away, right off. And now I need to remove this guy here that actually connects the logic board to the framing. So sorry about the noise, I'm using this annoying glove because I couldn't find my rubber ones. So at least, because this Mac is really filthy and I really don't want to touch it with my bare hands. So as you can see, like the tip of my fingers here is already like black. Just luckily I'm using the gloves. So this, the other screws here, I don't really have to remove it because basically they are attaching the power supply to the board. So no need really to remove those because I'm not going to remove the power supply from the analog board, not right now at least. The only thing that I want is to disconnect the analog board so I can pull it. So that should be enough to free the board. So let's see if I can do that. Yes, sorry, there are two screws in the bottom here that needs to be undone as well. So there we go, two. So those are required. Okay. Now the analog board should be free. Yeah, there we go. Just like I remembered. I don't have to worry much about the tube because the tube is already, ruined. So normally when you do that, you have to really take care of the tube. Make sure that you don't hit the tube with this very heavy board. And that's really the problem. Normally you're going to remove the power supply just to fit everything right without forcing onto the tube. But again, like in my case here, I don't have to worry about that because the tube is already ruined. So that's basically the analog board. Again, like visual inspection here, looking at the capacitors and everything, like they look fine. They are not bulged or anything. That doesn't really mean a lot because capacitor could still be leaking or something like this. I really don't see any leakage underneath the capacitors. So ideally, I should replace all of them because again, we're talking about like 40-year-old sort of electronics here. So it is a good practice basically to replace them all, especially after disassembling like I'm doing here. So yeah, but I'm not gonna do it. I'm really not gonna do that. I only want to see if this guy is functional or not, and if not, what is broken. So for example, if it is just a hard drive or something like that, I have spare one, I can just replace it. If it is something else, then it could be a little more expensive and troublesome to fix it, so it might not worth it. So if I can fix this, I will keep it, or maybe put that for sale, I don't know, because I already have one. And if I can't, I will just keep it for spares. So that's the tube, right? So that's the damaged tube. I have to be really careful again because of this here. It's totally broken. And now the only thing left to do here is basically disassembling the frame, so I can basically remove the hard drive and the floppy. So why would I want to do that? Because I really want to do to get those really clean before I attempt anything with them. So to remove this frame here, as far as I remember at least, it's fairly simple. So probably just disconnecting those, undoing those two screws here should be enough to lift the whole frame with the two drives. So let's see. Yeah, there is also like, yeah, remember now. So the two Phillips screws here as well that need to be undone to release this hard drive frame. Okay. And yeah, now it should be loose, hopefully. Yeah, I still have two more screws here to go. So two more Phillips screws that are attaching the hard drive and floppy frame into the main frame. That's funny. And yeah, now it is totally loose. I can feel it already. Yeah, there we go. So this is basically the hard drive and the floppy drive. So as you can see, it's filthy here, right? It's very, very nasty. So I have to clean this up thoroughly before I attempt to do anything. And then there is basically the rest of the... So I'm basically going to disassemble the whole thing. I'm actually going to remove this metal frame here as well, so it's easier for me to wash the plastics and everything else. Again, the plastics are in very good condition. No cracks or anything. Yeah, it's a little bit yellow, but that's pretty much it. And it's expected to be yellow anyway due to the age. But it's not too yellow anyways. It's just like a regular amount of yellowing. Not too bad. It's much better than the other one that I've got in the past. So there you go, frame is off, and this is the front bezel with the speaker. So again, like as you can see, it's very, very filthy. So it's it needs cleaning. And I need to remove the speaker here because I'm going to wash this. So the speaker has to be removed. So the thing with those models is that the speaker is actually glued to the frame. There is like 2 points of plastic that basically keep those in place. It's there is no way for you to remove those other than breaking those little plastic caps, which is no big deal because you can glue that together back you know, afterwards. So it's really not a major issue. So you can just safely do that. With care, of course, to avoid, for example, like damaging the speaker itself or other plastics in the system. So you have to be really careful here. Those are very old plastics. So let's try to... Yeah, this one is coming off fairly easy. Okay, done. So this one here is done. And now this other one here has to this one is a little bit stubborn. And I have to be careful not to apply too much
force, because if I do it and it slips, it goes straight into the speaker, and it of course is going to damage it. Okay, so I think that should be enough, and it is. There we go. So this is the speaker. I can place it here, and that's the frame now, free of all the metals and everything. So I can safely like wash this and the back part as well, and should be okay. I'm going to wash also the metal frame and get rid of all that nasty stuff. And I'm have to now to also clear my workbench here, because it's a little bit filthy as well. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to wash all the components and everything else, clean everything, and then come back here and start reassembling everything with while documenting it. Okay, so I'm not going to show you me cleaning the components or the board or anything like that. You have seen that 1,000 times before, so I don't think it's quite interesting. So I'm going to basically do that offline, come back here, start the reassembly process, and then we're going to test this together, right? So the first test is going to be with the camera, so you're going to see it whether or not it was a successful repair or not. Okay, and if not, we are going to try to figure out what the problem is. So if it is the hard drive, it's fairly easy to basically repair. Just have to replace the hard drive basically. If it is the logic board or the analog board, then it's a little bit harder because it relies on checking components on the board themselves. It could be memory related, it could be capacitor related, it could be like some other electronics. So then it's going to be a little bit tougher. Okay, so stick with me and I'm going to come back to show you the rest of this, okay? Okay, some updates here on the cleaning process. This is the analog board and it's ready to go. So I cleaned pretty much everything, including this fan. So the fan was nasty and I disassembled and basically cleaned everything from the inside out, reassembled it. And all the components, everything looks fine, at least visually. And this board is ready to go. This is the neck board here. As you can see, it also like it has been cleaned and it looks in very good shape. So I don't think there is nothing wrong with it. So I guess I was lucky. And now this is the logic board. Also disassembled what I could, cleaned everything up, and basically put it together. So the memory sticks, for example, they were removed and thorough clean and then put back together. And so this board looks very, very good. It's in very good shape. And again, visually I don't see any problems in terms of capacitors or anything like that. But again, this is only visually. It could be something completely different when we power this up. So I'm now working on the discs. So as you can see here, this is the floppy drive. Look at the mess that this floppy is. So you can really see how long this guy has been, you know, like running unattended. So it's really, really nasty. Look at the heads here. Yeah, this is going to give me like some trouble basically cleaning it up, but I will. And I do have another one anyways for this particular model already cleaned up, but I will clean this up to basically keep it as a spares. Like those floppy drives, they are really, really resistant. So it's just a matter of cleaning it up, eventually lubricating a little bit the components, and you are really ready to go. It's very hard for them to actually fail, from my experience at least. And this is the hard drive here. So the hard drive, of course, it's also very dusty and such, but I still have hopes for it. So let's hope this guy is still working. So I'm going to also not disassemble the hard drive, but remove it from the case, from the frame here, and clean it up basically, and put it back together. So there is no opening on hard drives, because basically once you do it, that's pretty much it for it. Even though it could work afterwards, it's just going to work like for a brief period of time, and eventually it's going to die. So if the hard drive is not working, to me at least, there is no sense in trying to fix it. Just better off like trying to get a working one.
Okay, and that's pretty much it. That's where I am right now. Also, like the plastics, they are already in the sink, ready to be washed. So I'm going to wash them thoroughly as well. And then it's the process of putting everything back together with the new CRT tube and power it on and hope for the best, basically. And I'm going to show you all this once I'm ready for it. I finished the cleaning of all the components and the boards and the case and everything else. So I also glued back the speaker here, so it should be good to go. So this is basically the front bezel cleaned. As you can see, it is a little bit yellowed, yes, but again, like I'm not gonna do any retro writing or anything here, just because it doesn't make any sense. Like why would I want like a white Mac if this guy here is from 1986, right? So yeah, it doesn't make much sense. So I'm just going to leave it like a little bit yellow. It's not too bad. It's just like a regular expected sort of yellow amount, and I'm okay with that, really. If it was like those brown shades that sometimes happen, then yes, but it's not the case here. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add the new CRT, well, not the new, but the working one. So for that I need to put a cushion on the table to protect the CRT and the frame. So I'm doing that now. Okay, so let's take this beauty here. It's already cleaned, so I just have to see what is the, so yeah, the top is this side here. So it's just a matter of landing it correctly, like this. To be honest, like maybe I should, yeah, maybe I should put the frame first, right? Yeah, probably. Yeah, so let's actually add the frame here. So I cleaned the frame as well, washed it, waited for it to dry, so it's all dry now. Yeah, it is all dried. Just making sure that there are no there's no water here or anything, because we don't want that with high voltage electronics, right? So I really want to make sure that this is fully dried before I mount it back to the case. So I don't see any residual water here anywhere. So I think we should be good to go. Yeah. No water. Yeah, it should be good to go. Okay, so let's reassemble that. I have to remember the correct order here. So probably it's going to be something like this. So the logic board comes this way, and there is a slot for it here. So that's how you basically know the way. Just realized that I actually assembled, I think, the speaker in the wrong way. Like the wire should be facing outwards, but I think I still can make this work without having to remove it and re-glue it. No, that won't work. Okay, too bad. So basically I will have to remove, well, the glue is not yet cured, so might not be total loss here. Yeah, that will do the trick. Okay, so still good to go. So back to the frame. So yeah, this is the slotted option for board,
And now it's just a matter of aligning the holes here with the screws. Yeah, that looks okay. Good. So now is just putting the screws back in place. So this is a torque screw. A bunch of torque screws that goes here. So let me just see how many torque screws I have. So I need 4 to secure the CRT. So let me just reserve those because I know that those I can't use for anything else. And those are the ones that are basically related to the metal frame. Okay, so there we go. So normally when I disassemble those machines, I take a lot of pictures to guide me when reassemble it afterwards. But for this particular one here, since I have already done a few of those, I kind of remember where the right sort of screws go. But sometimes my mind fails me, and then I regret not taking pictures or something like that. But I do have another one here. Actually, I have 2 other that I could open and just you know, if needed, see which screws go where to basically make my life a little bit easier. Okay, so the frame is back in place. Now it's a matter of adding the hard drive and the floppy frame on top of that and securing it. So let's do that now. I still think it's a better idea to actually do that before adding the monitor, because not the monitor, sorry, the CRT, because the CRT is really fragile, and I really don't want to do, I don't want to happen what happened with the previous owner. You know, the CRT is going to be facing here, and if I start adding things like metal things into that, it is for sure going to eventually touch it, and it could break it just like happened before. So we don't want that. We sure don't want that. Okay, so here is just a matter of aligning everything, and it should just slide in place, providing I am actually doing this right. Yes, I am. So just have to slide in a little bit further. Okay. It's literally almost. Maybe I should have put that before mounting the frame back to the bezel. I don't know, just maybe, because it seems that I don't have enough room here to basically slide this in for some reason. No, it's in. Good, so it's in. And now I just have to screw this back in place. So there are basically screws should be in the back here. Yeah, they are all aligned, the holes I mean, so should be fairly straightforward. So let me add first one here. Go. So
this should be enough to hold the frame in place, and then change the head, and let's do the others. Okay, so 4 screws are needed to secure the frame back in place. Those are regular Phillips screws. Okay, just checking to see if the image is actually right, because as you guys know, if you're watching this channel for a while now, you know that normally I don't do this. I don't mount the camera up, which actually just is a shame, because I should do this more often. The problem is mounting the camera like this. I look too far away, I think, and you guys don't really see what I'm doing, but well, in the end, like, again, there is nothing too special here. I'm just like okay, putting the screws back. So the 4 screws basically here, right? So as you can see, right, so 1, 2, 3 and 4, and that's all there is to it, really. Like, as far as I remember, at least, those are the only 4 screws to secure this this frame in place. So I could already mount the analog board at this point, but I'm rather actually adding the CRT, I think, at this point, and then go from there. So let me just organize the cables here a little bit so that it's not going to be in the way when I add the CRT. Okay, good. So CRT time now, and after the CRT I have to place the analog board. The problem is, if I put the analog board now, I won't have enough room here to screw the CRT in place. But the problem is, if I put it after, it is going to be very tight here, and there's always the chance that I might damage the CRT, like it happened in the past. So let me just so this is the neck board, and so let's see what I can do here, just so I can remember in terms of how this is going to go. Okay, so this goes like this, and just to check this, yeah, so yeah, if I do it like this, if I actually add this now, it is going to cover this section here, so I won't be able to screw the CRT on this hole. And the problem is, the CRT needs to be attached, fully secured on all screws, because it's a heavy thing, and if it's not in the proper place and fully secured, of course it's not a good thing. And again, like, this is a high voltage element, not the CRT itself, but the connections that are going to be made are all very high voltage, so you don't want to have like a loose thing going on here. Okay, so changing the screwdriver heads again. Now let's start to reattach. Whenever you guys are dealing with CRTs, remember that you have to align the tube as well. So you should not like over tight the screws at this point. You just like you place them in place, make sure that they are secure enough, not over tighten them, and then you have to take a look on the front and make sure that it is aligned, because there is space here for some movement, and you need to make sure that the CRT is right. Otherwise you have to reopen and do everything again once you've finished, and then that means again like removing the analog board, which is a pain, detaching all the cables, and well, you know. So one thing that actually I have to do here, so I can do that later actually. So there will be a cable that I will have to attach to one of those screws here, I think. Or maybe not. No, it goes directly to the frame. So yeah, this one here is different. Okay, so this guy is in place. Again, like, make sure that it is aligned. And also, if possible, make sure that you put it with on the right position, not upside down, I mean. And in my way, I did it upside down here. I can see it. There is always an easy way for you to see is the cable itself. So it should be on the other side. So I didn't pay attention because the analog board is going to come here. And this cable here connects to the analog board. So it should be the other way around. But in my case, my CRT is also a little bit burnt up. So just by looking at it when it's off, you can actually see the burn marks, and you can tell in which position is the Macintosh, the macOS menu. It's very mild burn, but it's good in that sense. Like, I can actually see if I'm doing something wrong before, you know, like closing everything and then just realizing that afterwards. So it should be like this. Good. So again, like, make sure it's aligned, and let's do it again. One good thing about those old Macs is the plastic quality is actually really good. If you start working with the more recent ones, especially the notebooks, the PowerBooks, the plastic quality is crap, which means like they tend to dry out and become very brittle, and they start basically breaking very, very easily. But not those guys here, like those old Macs. They are really sturdy, and I really like that about them. Okay, so it's all screwed up in place. Now it's time to carefully put back the analog board. So let me turn this to my side here. And again here, I'm going to stand up because I really want to see what I'm doing here. Like, I don't want the metal from the power supply to basically pick on the tube and risking damaging it. So you have to do this really, really carefully. Okay, so let's see how that goes. Yes, the problem is really the power supply. It's a huge power supply. Okay. So far so good. Slowly it should just come into place. Okay, so it seems to be not yet in place, but it's coming along. It's in the guides. So far it's looking okay. It's a little metal shielding here that I want to keep, but okay, so I think it's in. Yeah, found a problem here. Yeah, the hard drive power cable, it's in the way here. That's why it's not going all the way through. So I'm removing that now, and I should now have enough room here to Yeah, that's much better. Okay, so slide it in. Okay, now it's secured in place, I think. Yep, seems to be. So yeah, it's very tight in here. That's why it's so easy to break the tube, you see, because any sudden movement that you do now, like trying, for example, to either like connect the cables, you have to go through the tube neck here. And this is really, really sensitive. Just a small tap on it might be enough, you know, to break this little tab here. And if that goes, then all the pressure in the tube is going to, basically air is going to get in, the vacuum is over, and then the tube is just garbage. It doesn't do anything anymore. So it's very easy to get this wrong. So you really need to be careful here and patient. Don't force it, just, you know, like if it doesn't go in on the first attempt, again, looking what you are doing to avoid touching the tube with the power supply. Do it again, like just give it another shot and just keep trying. Eventually it will get in. So this is the metal tab that I was talking about. It got a little bit damaged. I'm going to try to just put that back in place. Should be easy enough. Just have to move the board a little bit back. Then you have to really force it a little bit to get a little gap between the frame and the board. Then try to get this in the right place here. Yeah, maybe if I do it like this, it might be easier. Yeah, there we go. And it's in. And now just aligning with the holes here. So this metal thing here is there probably for, you know, provide some level of grounding or something. So it is important to keep those in the right place. And now it's just a matter of, you know, adding the screws in place. So Phillips head again. Then once everything is tightly back in place, I can start basically reassemble the reassembly of. I can start the reassembly of the logic board. So just aligning this here. There we go. One is in. So again, if you try this and you don't see the alignment correct or something like that, eventually there is something wrong. You need to basically retrace your steps and try to see if, for example, like in my case, it was the hard drive power plug right, you know, in the way of the board itself. So if I actually forced it at that moment, it would eventually break it or cause like major damage. So it's always good to take some time. So for example, right now here, I don't, yeah, the base here is not fully aligned, so you have to basically jiggle it a little bit, make sure it aligns for the screws to get in. It's not too off, but it is off. But you have to do that carefully, because if you do force it too much, again, like remember that the tube is just behind this, and that basically could cause a disaster, you know. Okay, and the other one. And those are the 4 screws that are needed basically to secure this in place. Okay, it's done. And the last one is basically this one that comes here for grounding purposes. And that's pretty much it in terms of screwing things back together.
It's actually not here, it's here. Or is it? Yeah, it is. So it's either one, doesn't really matter, apparently they are the same thing. Okay, and it's in. Okay, so all connected back, all good. So what is missing now? Reattaching all the cables and adding the logic board, of course. So before adding the logic board, I'm going to reattach the CRT okay, so let's do this again, like slowly, don't force it, and be patient. We are talking about glass here, so very easy to get this, you know, wrong. Also, like whenever we are attaching the high voltage wire to the CRT, like I mean this portion here, see there is this suction thing here. One thing that I never do is cleaning up this thing from the inside, because there is a little bit of I think it's kind of like Vaseline or something like that, that basically allows for a better, you know, bonding between this plastic thing, rubber thing, to the CRT. It's really important that no air is coming out, not out, but it has to be fully sealed, basically, to avoid, this is really high voltage, so to avoid the voltage escaping, it has to be really well sealed. So I avoid, for example, cleaning the inside, because I know the inside, even though it's very old, still like has very good bonding to this surface here, so I don't touch it. But I do clean the outside. As you can see, like this was all black, and it's looking much better now. But I don't touch the inside. But that's me, you know, like it might be a good idea, I don't know, maybe to clean it up and add like some fresh Vaseline or something like that. I just never done it because I don't know what is the right thing to actually add there, and I really don't want to mess around with that, if you know what I mean. So I don't do it. Okay, so this is all looking very good now. I think we are almost ready for the logic board. There is still like some plugs to connect here the tube. So one is off the way now, it's done. The other one here is already connected, and I need to connect the hard drive onto the analog board here, the power. Again, you have to be really careful with the tube. There is not a lot of space to work, and any sudden movement here, if you really snap this, that's it. Like you can just throw, at least the tube, you can throw it in the garbage, because there is no way to repair it. Okay, so final step is mounting the logic board and testing everything up. So to test this, this is my opinion again, like I never like to test those old Macs, like those monolithic Macs, with the case open, because it's a lot of high voltage. And again, like if I had done that before with the neck of the tube broken, that could have been nasty. So I never do it. I always like to close everything up, even with the screws and everything, and then test it up and see whether or not it powers up or not. And then I open it up again and basically retrace my steps and see what might be missing. But I will never test it with it open. I have seen videos that people are actually doing that, but again, this is my opinion. Like I don't do it. I just don't think it's safe to do so. Okay, so the bit that is hard here, in my opinion, now is the audio. It's basically the speaker cable, because there is not a lot of space for you to actually connect it from the inside here, and you cannot do it from the outside. There is no space
on that as well. Actually, let me try to see if I might be able to do something a little bit different than what I normally do. Maybe connecting the cable while the board is actually sliding in. If I could do something like that, that would be great. Because it's really a pain in the ass, you know, like to connect this little guy. Okay, so the board is now sliding in. The problem here is I have to keep securing this audio cable while trying to push the board in. Okay, easier now. Okay, so I think I will be able to do that. And that actually might be the right way of doing this instead of going from the inside. Come on, just slipped. Cable just slipped here. Come on. Yeah, I'm back. So I need to see what is the right. Okay, it should be like this then. Yep. Okay, so time to plug this in and hopefully it will remain in place. And I pushed it. Yeah, I don't think I will be able to do that. I don't have enough cable here to actually try this. Yeah, it's not gonna work. So I will have to basically do the same way that I've always done. Maybe now I could. Yeah, now I have some more room here to actually do that. So yeah, this is the tricky one, you know. Everything else is not too hard, but this one here is a pain. And very easy to forget as well. Okay, it's aligned and yeah, it's in place. Good. Perfect. So this one down. Now I can just keep pushing this down here. So again, I didn't change capacitors or anything like that. I didn't change the PRAM battery, which I should have. But the main objective here right now is to make sure this guy works. I'm not going to waste much time if it isn't, so I need to know whether or not it is working. So connecting the main power cable to the logic board. Okay, I can't forget to connect this guy here as well. Yeah, so I'm going to leave this here for now. And okay, so the main power cable is in. Now the SCSI cable, and finally the the floppy drive. Okay. So connecting the floppy. The floppy is in, and the SCSI should be okay as well. It's not too hard. It's just a matter of aligning this with the pins and pushing it. Again, be careful with the tube when doing that. You don't have a lot of room. Okay, so SCSI cable is in. Everything now connected and firmly connected, as far as I can tell at least. And now the final bit is the neck board. Right, so direction here of course is key. You have to align this properly with the neck. So it goes like this. So it's not too hard basically to determine how the alignment must be. I'm actually going to connect this first to the analog board, and then I'm going to connect the neck board onto the neck of the CRT. It's just easier that way, I think. Again, not a lot of room here. It's really easy to make a mistake and break it. Okay, it's connected, and now it's just a matter of aligning this here. It should fit perfectly. Again, you should not force it. If you start forcing it, it will break it. So if it's not coming in, don't force it. So yeah, this is basically what I mentioned before. There is a connection actually on the screw that goes to the frame of the CRT. So I have to remove this screw here, put this in, and reattach this screw to the bezel. Don't forget, if you guys are ever going to do that, don't forget all the grounding components. You really need to get this grounded. Again, it's a lot of high voltages involved, and you don't want to, you know, have issues with that. So I'm going to add now there is this cover here, this protection. I'm going to add it to make sure that this the back plate here doesn't touch the case, even if it touches, it's all plastic, so it should not be a problem. But just to keep or preserve the way it was designed to be, right? So let's try to keep it as stock as possible. So just before I close it here, I really wanted to show you guys how clean this looks like now. So it really looks almost like new. If you take a look, like everything looks very, very clean. I know it's might be a little bit far away for you guys to see, but everything now is impeccable. It's really, really clean. So yeah, it was a good job. I think, modesty apart, you know, like I think I've done a pretty decent job here. So let's put the case back. Again, I prefer doing this for testing for security reasons, you know, like I don't like the idea of having the chance to cause any major issues, so I just do that. I think I might have a problem here with because there is here the reset switch, and it seems to be in the way when I try to close the case, and if I force it, it will of course break it. So and truth being told here, like I don't know how to remove that, and I don't want to force it as well, so I'm going to try something different here. So I'm actually going to try the cover in the case so that it doesn't force the programmer switch tab. So just make sure it's aligned, and it can't fall. That's the problem. Like if it starts falling, then I will have an issue. So maybe I could hold it from the outside. Yeah, so I'm going to get like a paper clip and try to hold this from the outside in place so that it doesn't fall. Okay, so let's see how that goes. should be enough. Yeah, see, when everything is in place, that's where you see, that's where you get, like, thing just snaps into place the proper way without the need to force anything in, and then you know you have done a good job, at least in terms of reassembling everything. Yeah, in terms of the hard drive, it's not apparently not even spinning up. Those hard drives are fairly noisy, so I don't hear it spinning up. So it's I'm not going to put the other two here on top because I'm probably going to open this again to replace the hard drives. Power. Yeah, still no hard drive. It's not running. Like, I can hear the fan, but no hard drive. So now I have brightness control here. Yeah, the quality of the image is really good, but yeah, the hard drive it keeps sending signal onto the board. You can see the LED blinking here, so it's trying to do something, but it can't get it on its way, so it doesn't basically work. So nevertheless, it's not a total loss. And get this back working, which is great, right? So yeah, I'm going to replace the hard drive on this with the one that I have. I could try the floppy after all the cleaning that I've done. So I don't remember which one is the one that I normally use, but let's see. Okay, so didn't like this one. I don't really know which one has the booting operating system, so it might be that, or it might be that the floppy drive is actually bad. I don't know. Okay, so it's working. At least it's trying to work. So there was initial boot. Okay, none of those are working, which is a shame really, like, because the problem is I have no clue if the problem is from the floppy or the discs themselves. So I do have some others here, so let's try them out. Now none is working apparently. Okay, so this was the one. So it starts reading it, and then it basically quits and it doesn't finish. So that could be an indication of a defective floppy. Yeah, it probably is the floppy. As you can see, like it starts and basically it halts in the same position for both here. So I have to investigate that further. Maybe replacing the floppy might be an easier way to proceed. Okay guys, so that's pretty much it. So this guy is back online at least, right? So I have something that is working that wasn't before. Hard drive is trashed apparently. I will see if there is anything that I could try to do without opening the hard drive. Again, like opening the hard drive is the same as trashing it. Like once you open it, that's it. It's gone. And then I will report back. Okay? See you guys. Now, look at that. I open it up. I basically pull the head all the way here and it started working. Yeah? Unbelievable, isn't it? So I'm going to close it up and see it again. So look at that. It's the booting process. It's quite amazing, isn't it? It's working fine now. I really can't believe it. Look at that. That's crazy, man. Okay, I know I said before that once you open the hard drive, that's pretty much gone. But, well, you know, things change. Basically, I open this up here. It's very easy. This is a miniscribe hard drive, 20 meg. It has this rotational element here. So there's a motor here, a rotor, better put. So if you have a drive like this and it's getting stuck, maybe before throwing it in the bin, you could, you know, try to do what I did. So basically what I did is I removed all those 6 Torx screws that you have here. There is one behind the label here, which is basically the warranty. So this was unopened. I had to actually remove this tag here by myself. So this drive is from 1989, as you can see here on the label. And it wasn't booting at all. And after opening it up and just forcing the head a little bit up, apparently the mechanism started working again. I didn't see any rubber or anything that could be stopping the mechanism, so I didn't really do anything there. And I actually avoided like keeping it open for too long, and I just closed it just now. So I'm going to test it now with this, with it closed, to see if it still boots. Okay, so it's all connected. I'm going to power it up now, switching the button back here. And let's see what happens. So that's the drive. And let's see what happens. If it works, then that's pretty much it. If it doesn't, and that's pretty much it as well. Yeah, there you go. It's booting up again, you see? That's crazy amazing to me. Like I was about to bin this disc really, and it's working. So as you can actually see the rotor here, see? So this is actually moving the head back and forth, and it's working just fine. Well, there is some dirt now on it after I open it up, but still, like, you should be able to function for quite some time still. And I'm going to leave it. Yeah, that's really amazing, really. Like I'm astonished. So, and everything now is working. So this is I would say that I could enhance the brightness a little bit. It's a little bit brighter. This is like the maximum brightness that I have on the knob that is down here. And in my opinion, it should be a little bit brighter than that. So I'm going to try to adjust it. And and see if it gets a little bit better. And that's pretty much it. Like after that, I'm pretty much closing up this Mac, and it should be good to go. Right, so the other floppy that I have, I'm pretty sure is working fine. I'm going to test it outside as well, just to avoid like closing it up with a defective floppy. The other one was, you saw the filming before. It was really like, well, look at that. There is a little screensaver here. So it was really bad. It was like a lot of dirt. So maybe if I actually disassemble the floppy and you know, lube all the components and clean the heads properly, it might even work, I don't know. But I'm not in the mood to actually do that today. So I'm just going to swap the floppy drives, and yeah, that should do the trick. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Yeah, that's basically like brightness adjustment now, and closing this beauty up and finishing it up. Very happy with the results, like amazed to actually see that this little guy here actually worked, and actually curious to see what's inside this drive now. So let's see here. So the guy that sold that to me said that he was into music or something. So not music, sorry, he was like desktop publishing when he was using that. So he was the actual only owner of this Mac here. So yeah, I can see there is a page maker here, and so let's see what we have here. So let's see what's in utilities. Yeah, this doubler, yeah, like good stuff, like Microsoft Word, Excel, Illustrator, PageMaker, and that's pretty much it. Like there is nothing else apparently, no games or anything like that. And the guy pretty much used the whole hard drive. So it's I only have like 3 megs free, like pretty much like 2 floppy disks. Well, 4 floppy disks, because in this case it's 800K floppies, but still like wow, that's very nice to know. And in terms of memory, I was right. So the guy upgraded it, so it has 4 megs of RAM running here, which is great. And yeah, that's it. Really happy with that. So let's shut it down and start reassembling everything and adjusting the brightness as well. Okay guys, that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. So I just adjusted the brightness. It looks perfect now, and it's basically here. It's on the analog board. I'm just looking at the service manual, so there is just like a pot there. Just have to stick like a screwdriver and turn it for plus or minus to adjust it. There are some other interesting adjustments here as well, like focus and the width and the height. So you can pretty much adjust anything from the CRT from there. I don't have to touch anything else. The focus and everything else looks just perfect. So I'm just gonna leave it, and well, it's time to close everything now. Okay, so this is the beast powering it up. As you can see, the hard drive is working just fine, exactly as expected. So now for testing the floppy. So let's hope it works. Yep, seems to be working. So let's see if the mechanism is okay. So reject. Yeah, it seems to be fine. And let's now try to boot. Boot it from the floppy. So let's see if the floppy boot works. This floppy should be working.
At least it did on my other SE. That's interesting. Okay, so there is something weird. So let me try the other one. So it's reading perfectly, but for some reason maybe not booting, for whatever reason that is. So yeah, it is booting just, I mean, it's reading the disk just fine. So let me try to restart. Yeah, apparently the hard drive is basically kicking up too fast and not able to boot the machine from it. But still, like, don't really care. It's it seems to be working fine, the floppy, and yeah, eventually if the hard drive fails, then I should be able to boot from the floppy, I think. Well, at least in the other one that I have, it works just fine. So setting startup here. Let's try with multi-finder, and again let's try to shut it down, and let's see if we can make this work this time. Now it's trying to read the floppy, but then the hard drive kicks in. Yeah, it's booting from the floppy now. Yeah, this is the floppy. So yeah, it's working just fine. So the mechanism on this one, I mean the floppy mechanism, is not as good as it was in the other. So this one, normally this type of floppy, it should pull the disk, and it's not really pulling the disk as it should. So I have to basically give it a little, you know, further push. But again, like, at least it's working just fine. So that's it for me. Like, I'm happy. Right, so this machine is now fully operational, and that's it for me. Like, I don't need to do anything more here. So the brightness is also now adjusted, so this is not the maximum. So if I actually turn the knob here, it gets a little brighter, and here it gets a bit darker. So I think I could even like put it to be a little more brighter, but yeah, it's okay like this. Like, it doesn't have to be more than that. So yeah, it's that's a fully restored Mac SE then. Everything working, and I was really lucky to have a spare tube with me. It's not easy to come around those. And yeah, that's it. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this one. I'm going to actually for sure use the case, the bezel and everything. The other one that I have, this one, and that's my dog just there having some fun. So this one here is it's in very good shape. The CRT is actually better than the one that I just fixed it, I think. But the problem with this one is really the cracked case that I don't like a bit. So yeah, maybe I will swap it. I don't know. I have to think about it a little bit. But that's it for now. So this guy here is done. Hope you guys enjoyed it, especially the hard disk part. To me it was a huge surprise. See you guys. Bye.